Okay, good evening, everybody. It's Kate here, Safeguarding Association founder and CEO, and we're here back for live at 5. I hope you've all had a lovely half term. If you've had a break, please let me know. If you've not had a break, again, please let me know. Today is the 1st of June. It is a fairly momentous day in terms of where we are from an education perspective and a world view as well. And whilst there are things happening outside of the UK that are needing to be talked about, I'm not going to talk about them tonight. I'm going to use that, and we might have that conversation separately. Tonight, I want to focus on what's happening in the UK and where we currently are. So if you've got any questions as we're going through this live, please leave them in the comments below. That would be fantastic. If I keep looking that way, it's because I'm checking my phone, which is there, which has got access to the live stream, so I can see if there's anybody watching with us. And it would be great if you are just to say hi or leave a comment or something, say hello, wave to me. That would be wonderful. And we'll get started in just a second. Okay. So tonight, as I said, I want to talk about what's happening in the UK, and particularly what's happening in England. And unless you've been in a cave somewhere, we have been in about 12 weeks of lockdown, which has meant children haven't been at school. Lots of people haven't been at work or in their place of work. There have been lots of children being educated at home, lots of teachers sending information and stuff home, lots of parents trying to work out the whole organisation of having to do work as well as having to look after their children. Lots of people have been furloughed, but still there have been lots and lots of people who've still had to work throughout all of this. Our nurses, our doctors, our delivery drivers, the whole list is huge. Today is the first day that our government has said that certain children can go back into education. So the infants, so sort of nursery, year 1 and year 6, with the possibility of older children going into school in a couple of weeks' time. And I know that has massively divided opinion. There's a lot of very strong opinion either for children going back to school and against children going back to school. I'm in neither camp particularly. And this morning, I had the pleasure of being interviewed for an education publication who are looking at supporting governors about this whole move back in again. And I thought I'd share with you some of the things that we were talking about. And again, I'd love to know your thoughts and your comments. So if you're watching the replay on this, please leave your comments underneath the video. Let me know what you think, how you feel about all of this. What are some of your top tips as well? So in terms of where we are now, and yes, education's gone back in. The football season is due to start in a couple of weeks as well. I noticed that in some countries, so Germany, the Bundesliga started up again. In other countries, I think Hungary is the first country to allow fans into stadiums. Horse racing started back in England as well today, albeit behind closed doors. So there is a relatively big push to try and get things back to the way they were previously, which brings up a whole host of issues, of concerns, of worries for everybody. And so I really wanted to use this opportunity with you and say, if you're live, please feel free to leave your comments, to share your experiences or your thoughts around all of this as well. So in terms of, generally speaking, what is happening, I was talking to publication, particularly about what's happening and how to help governors, but there are some things there that I really want to share with you around what we need to be thinking about as practitioners in a wider sense. Now, when all of this initially happened, we have, and I think we acknowledge now quite heavily, that for the most part, people started to go through a form of the grief cycle, the whole grief process. Very unusual set of circumstances. The word unprecedented has been used so many times, it's ridiculous. But I'm not sure there's a better word to describe what has actually been going on for us in current times. So we've been in a very unusual, very unnerving, very difficult place for people to be. Children have been at home, parents have been worried about how they manage work and children and education. Parents have also been worried about finances. There have been issues around whether children have been seen or not been seen, how you contact them, how you keep in touch with them, how much work you give them, how much work you don't give them. I've been shouting from the rooftops about keeping safe while we're working online, and indeed there's an obligation on educational establishments to, as far as possible, keep children safe online whilst they are at home. Huge issue, enormous issue for people to deal with. And now we're in this fluid situation. Now we're moving into a more hybrid situation. Like I said before, we're in a situation that some people really want to be in. We're in a situation that others really don't want to be in. And so I want to share 3 things with you tonight about the situation, and things that I think are maybe, certainly for me, are kind of top priorities in this state of flux that we're in, remembering that lots of people are still going through that grief process from 12 weeks back when all of this started to happen. So some people are still very much in the midst of all of that. Others feel like they've just got sure footing, and now with this new situation are starting to feel like things are moving again and the sand shifting from underneath them. So I think the first thing for me is to be really aware that not everybody's in the same position. Not everybody has the same view. Not everybody feels the same about all of this. There are some people who are absolutely adamant that their children should be going back. There are others who are absolutely adamant that their children should not be going back to school or into education. So that there's all of that going on. Equally, there are parents who are still worried about finances, who are worried about childcare, who are worried about whether or not their children will catch COVID, whether there is any way to mitigate that, how that is all managed. And for some, it's very much a case of the grief cycle is starting again for people. That sand has shifted, that sure footing has disappeared, and they're having to look at a new normal again. So we can't expect people to react the way that they maybe would have reacted pre-lockdown. We can't even expect people to react the way they would have done 8-10 weeks ago. We're in a different situation. So being aware of others' responses, being aware of how other people may be feeling, that it could be very, very different to your own. Being aware that there will be significantly heightened levels of anxiety, not just with parents, but with staff. So whether you're a teacher, whether you're looking at coming back into the therapy room, maybe you're looking at bringing students back in, or children back onto the football field or into coaching situations over the coming weeks. There'll be lots of different feelings around all of this, lots of different thoughts and attitudes around how this is all going to work. So the first thing is very much be aware that this is a shifter and it is going to change as much as anything over the next few days and weeks. The second thing is that safeguarding requirements didn't change whilst we were in lockdown. There was very much a responsibility to keep an eye and keep in contact with vulnerable students. There was an increase in the requirements around online safety. And now in this hybrid situation where we've got some children in school, some children at home, it's not a case of we stop one to start the other. It's a case of we have to keep both of them going, and that can be really difficult. I appreciate that for some, particularly within education, it's been very difficult to keep in touch with everybody. And I know from the students where I chair safeguarding boards, they're fed up of being contacted. But the reality is we have to keep doing that. You have to keep on with that process, that safeguarding situation. But at the same time, you then have to make sure that those children in school or in your setting, in your therapy room, on your coaching staff, on your field or wherever, have the same safeguarding umbrella around them as well. So it's keeping both of them going at the same time. And remembering that can have a huge impact on safeguarding leads who are responsible for this. They haven't stopped. And I know you have been absolutely inundated and stressed, and it's already enormous, the strain that what has happened has put on you. And having to do both at the same time is not terribly helpful. The final thing I want to talk to you about is, because of all of this, it is absolutely imperative that you keep talking. You talk to your staff, you talk to your coaching staff, you talk to your fellow therapists, you keep them up to date with what's happening, you include them in the decision making around what's going on. And if you need to, you might need to remind them of safeguarding obligations, safeguarding requirements. But communication right now is going to be really key to helping people feel like they're part of the community, they're part of the solution, and that their concerns are also being heard. That's it for me. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, so please leave a comment underneath, and I will see you next week for Live at 5.